All right, well, on the list of potential vacation spots, Libya probably doesn't sound like it would even be on the list, but that is where a UCLA student spent his summer. Chris Jeon is a math major at UCLA, and he says he traveled nearly 7,000 miles to Libya to join a brigade of rebels fighting Gaddafi's forces. Jeon decided to make the trip because he said it was one of the only real revolutions in the world. One problem, though, Jeon spoke no Arabic and communicated using mostly sign language.
For the first week, it was all charades. I became so good at charades. And language is also just one way to communicate. There's body language, music. Their taste in music was interesting. They're in love with Justin Bieber, and when they said that, I was like, oh God, are you serious?
So how did he get there, by the way? Jeon bought a one-way ticket from L.A. to Cairo, traveled by train and buses, finally hitching a ride towards the capital of Tripoli, and he documented the whole thing.
It's amazing. Yeah. I know. Like the vacation of a lifetime, even though you wouldn't think it would be.
Yeah.
All right, this might be the most interesting summer vacation ever, just the craziest maybe. Chris Jeon, a student at UCLA, left the friendly confines of Westwood to join up with Libyan rebel fighters in their fight against Muammar Gaddafi. How did he do it and why? Well, we'll ask him right now. He's with us. Chris, welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm just wondering, so you get it in your mind, you want to go observe the Libyan rebels. So how do you go about getting there?
Actually, when I go on these kind of trips, people ask me, what did you expect? I really don't set any expectations. I mean, I have no prior frame of reference, so I go in there expecting the unexpected. It's a very fluid environment. You have to adapt. My only goal was to get in and live with these guys on the front lines, and that was it.
And this is video you were looking at from there. So you did. You flew to what, Cairo?
Yeah, I flew to Cairo, and from there I hitchhiked all the way to the Libyan border, and from there I also hitchhiked to Benghazi, and from Benghazi I hitchhiked to the front lines.
So you realize you could have died doing this?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is that risk.
You seem so matter-of-fact about that.
I mean, I think, there are things I can do, and there are things I can't do. And with the group I was with, I felt they were very protective of me, and I felt very safe around them.
You're talking about the rebels?
Yeah.
Okay, so you show up. Where do you even go? How do you know who's rebels and who these guys are, and what do? You just walk up and say, I'm an American kid, like to hang with you guys for a little while?
That's funny, because before this trip, I've never met a single Libyan person, and going into it, I just met one guy on the internet, and he gave me his contact number. And
right.
He actually set everything up for me. I went over there, and he told me where the front lines were and what to say. And when I got there, they all saw that I wasn't Libyan, and they assumed I was a journalist. So when I asked to go to the front lines, they were like, oh, it's that way. And they actually helped me. And as far as hooking up with the rebels, I just stood outside their operating base, stuck my thumb out, and they said, oh, ride with us, ride with us.
Wow.
And you don't speak the language, and you've never fired a gun.
Right. Actually, to communicate with them, I actually memorized, half of my vocabulary was food and slang words. So every time I met new people, I would just list off the foods I ate, like amseyar, almeita, asida, and all these slang words like jobe, jobe, good weather. And they all started laughing. They were like, how does this kid know this?
All right, so what happened? They take you in. Do they at some point think that you're going to be useful to the effort?
Actually,
were you interested in being useful to the effort?
I don't think it was so much as useful to the effort. I think when they first took me in, they sort of tested me. They took me out to the front lines, see whether I got scared. I didn't back away. And we had all these machismo tests. Like, we had wrestling matches. We had diving contests off 20-foot cliffs into shallow water. And I never said no to any of these. And I think I gained their respect that way. And they thought, man, this kid really, he's really into us. He has an open mind. And I think that's a big reason they took me in.
Chris, I have to tell you, I can almost hear a majority of our audience saying,
is this guy crazy?
This kid is crazy.
I think, this taken out of context, they may think like that. But if you look at my prior experiences, 3 years ago, I lived in an orphanage in Cambodia. I taught English there. Right after that, I lived with indigenous Indians in the Amazon rainforest. Recently, I went to Seattle for a week with nothing more.
But they didn't have guns and bombs weren't flying.
Right, but they're still very, I define my life through these experiences. I always try to seek as different and varied experiences as possible. And I think that gives me a brand new perspective on life and helps me understand what goes on.
How does that context go over with your parents?
they're very understanding.
I bet so. Otherwise, you'd be out on the street.
Yeah, I'm very grateful.
I think, though, that there would be some in our audience who would say if you've gotten into trouble in Libya, it would be up to the Americans, the American military, American government to get you out, and you've put them now in a bind.
Right. Like I said, the group I was with, I felt very protected, very safe, and, you know, I felt good in their hands.
So what was the takeaway? What did you learn?
I think what I learned was that, you know, this country has suffered so much, the people have suffered so much, yet I was so inspired how they were able to wake up every day and fight for this cause they believe so much in, for their freedom and their children's freedom. And in their, to quote their own words, to wake up, to go out in the streets and smell freedom in the air. That was so inspiring.
What will you do with this? Is this going to lead into something that you do as a profession? Do you have some idea of what you want to do?
I mean, we'll see what happens.
I guess that's kind of the way he rolls, right?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't plan that far.
My final question, though, is if, you know, why not join the military, the American military, and fight for the freedom in Afghanistan or Iraq?
Right. I didn't go so much for the military aspect, for the warfare aspect. I want to see what the experience was like. For these people are fighting for their freedom under an oppressive government. Like, what is that like? I didn't go there out of some curiosity of guns or anything. That didn't matter to me. I went there to share in their struggle, to see what that's like.
And where do we get to share some of this? Like, are you writing it, or are you?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm taking things slow.
That's
I got back, you know, a week ago.
You're getting adjusted to this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Los Angeles, but I'm still very connected there. You know, many of my friends are still on the front lines fighting every day. And, you know, I got a message from one of my good friends in Facebook. He's in the brigade, and he said 2 of my friends passed away last week. So I'm still very invested in the conflict. I'm still checking on it every day.
Oh,
it's
right.
Still very
Put the story down on paper. I think if that'd be some great value that came out of it to hear these stories, because we don't really meet a lot of people who go out and hang out with the rebels to find out what they're like. What an interesting story. Chris, good to see that you're safe.
Yeah, thank you.
And I, for one, hope you don't go back to any war zone, especially one as unsettled as that, because it was difficult to know who the enemy was in that situation within Libya. So you are lucky.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. It's actually weird how my life plays out. Everything is just some crazy series of events. I don't think anything happens in my life by accident. I think there's a reason, time and place for everything that happens to me. So, you know, although I'm fortunate, I feel like there's a reason for it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.